Hello friends and welcome back to Enterprise Architecture. Now, last episode we had set up all of our production of our lumium, our inderium, and our signalum for the next tier of research that we're going to need. So today we're going to take those things and put them under pressure. That is, we're going to use a pressing machine to start making gears out of them. We haven't used this machine before, so this is going to be new to us, and I'm excited to check it out. So, with no further ado, let's dive right in. Now, we'd knocked off all three of these ingredients without too much trouble. It was a little bit of work to automate all the pieces of it, but we got there eventually. Now, to make our purple research and our researchers, we are going to need a lumium gear, a signalum gear, and an inderium gear. And of course, we can make all of those in our standard metal press, but that wouldn't be very exciting. No, we need to move upwards and onwards. So I think what we're going to do instead here is use our compactor instead. I have unlocked this, and I've unlocked the gear die in a previous episode, but I haven't actually done anything with it yet. So let's take a look real quick at the compactor recipe. So, compactors are pretty simple. They work just like all of our other thermal expansion machines. We are going to need a machine frame, but everything else here is pretty tame. Now, the gear die for that is different. It is the gear working die, and that's pretty simple. We just need iron gears and a redstone servo. So we're going to need at least 3 of these machines overall. So let's add our gear working die to our shopping list, and we're going to add our compactor as well. Now, we're actually going to make extra compactors today while we're at it, because I want to automate some of our other items that we use frequently. Most notably, steel. We often need to make steel plates, and the compactor is a great way to do that. So I'm going to start with at least 4 of these. And I think all of our compacting is going to go in this little room that I had built out previously and hasn't been used yet. So I think this is going to be compacting central. So it's relatively simple to make these compactors. We're just going to need some machine frames. I think that's the only thing that's even vaguely exotic here. And we do need to make a couple of more blocks of redstone. That's not really a big deal either. So there's our 4 compactors. Great. And now we're going to need 3 gear working dies. And it looks like we don't have any of the things we need for that. So let's do 3 redstone servos. And then we're going to need 3 iron gears times 4. So 12 altogether. Perfect. And then with those in hand, we should be able to make 3 of our gear working dies. Great. So now we just need to go and put these down. We're going to teleport over here to our new location. And we're going to use the same general pattern that we used over here for these items, where we're outputting across the bottom and inserting those into some sort of storage facility. And on top, we're putting down our machines, and their ingredients are going to be coming in using integrated dynamics. Now, I know I'm mixing mods there, but I just think it works a little simpler here by separating out my networks in that way. So for that to work, we're going to need a little bit of storage. And no, since the last episode, I have not automated the ability to make storage, unfortunately. I should have planned ahead and done that, but I didn't. And so to that pattern, we also generally like to do a drawer controller to be the thing that's managing all of the ingredients and where they get stored. And then we just put a row of basic drawers around that. And I unfortunately put the doorway in an awkward place for this whole setup, so it'll be fine. I'm just going to put these here. Now we're going to lock all of those up tight so that they don't get the wrong ingredients in them, something that we don't want. And that should work pretty well. Okay, so I think actually we're going to move this over just 1. So let's put our drawer controller here, because we don't actually need to see any of the contents of the drawer controller. We don't really care what happens to items going into it. And that also will free up a little more space here for us to put down our storage drawers as well. Then we just need to rotate those around with our wrench. Looks like these just need to come around a bit. There we go. And we just need to tell this on the south side to not do anything, and on the up side we're inserting on green, and that means we need 1 more item cable here. There we go. Great. Now we have access to these. Now the compactors need our augment, and that we're going to use our gear working die in each of these. And now this knows that it makes gears. Easy enough. Now into each of these, we're going to drop our storage downgrades because we don't need an infinite amount of these gears. We only need enough of those to do the research that we have ahead of us. So at most, we're only going to have, 6 in play at any given time. Generally speaking, we're only going to have 6 going. Now, we need to connect all of this stuff up. So let's go ahead and clear out these so we don't have any weird accidents. And we first are going to make sure that the drawer controller itself is hooked up to an item interface. So that just becomes part of our overall storage network, like so. Now, we need to take that same interface along with our output cards, and it looks like we are short on output cards. We're gonna have to make some more of these. That's easy enough. We just need a couple of pistons. Okay. And we're gonna use that with our item interfaces to make 3 item outputs. What do we call those? Item exporters. That's right, item exporters. Okay, wonderful. And then our item exporters, we just go ahead and stick down here on these machines. Now, our items that we were just talking about, that's already connected up over here. This is an item interface on a drawer controller on this side, so we can actually reach all of those items from this setup. But the one thing it's missing to do that is our omnidirectional connector. We put one of those on top, and now everything is connected up. Now, I could use the omnidirectional connector to give us power into this logic cable as well, but you can only do 1 connector per side here, and that makes this start to get not very nice and neat very quickly. So instead, I'm going to power this with our Ender IO cabling, and I'm just going to run that along the bottom. And that'll give these machines enough power to operate with no trouble. So now that I have our item exporters in here, I just need to tell them what items to export, and then it should figure out what to do with it automatically. So to do that, we've got a bunch of our variable cards, and we go to our portable logic programmer. And then we need to find the right items for that programmer. So first off, we're going to need Lumium. So let's tell it that this is going to get Lumium ingots, and we will save that to a variable card. Okay. And then our Enderium ingots. Add that and save that to a card. And then last, our Signalum ingot. And we save that to a card. Great. And then we can tell each of these in turn to export just that item. So Lumium goes in here, and Enderium goes in here, and Signalum goes in here. Now, none of this is going to start doing anything until we start telling our compactors what to do with themselves. So import on the top, export on the bottom, and there we go. It's making gears. This should do the same, and so should this. Yep, Signalum, and there's our Enderium. Now what we have to do is take these gears out and tell them where to store them. So let's put Lumium there, and see it's already increasing. Enderium we're going to put here. Already increasing, and Signalum goes here. And yep, that's already increasing too. So this should start doing the trick. Now, they're going to keep pulling ingots to make those, and they're going to pull from these reserves here. And as you can see, we have a lot of ingots to go that are stored. So we are perfectly fine here on ingots, and we are not backed up at all. Now, the next thing I want to do here is get access to steel plates. So I think by default, the compactor makes steel plates, if I remember correctly. Let's just double check that. Yeah, if you just give it a normal ingot, it's just going to make a normal plate. And it gives us 1-to-1, so that's a pretty good deal. Now, I just want to double check that indeed, yes, we have steel plates there. So we do need to hook up our steel to it, and our steel is all down here. So here's our little steel factory that we stood up, and it's doing a nice little job. So to give access to our steel and eventually to our slag as well, we're just going to put item interfaces on the side of those boxes. We could use a controller here, but we don't need it for just 2 items. We're just spending 1 extra cable, and that's well worth it to me. And then we're going to put our omnidirectional connector on top of that again. So now we have steel in our system and slag, and we can do whatever we want with those. So if we come back over to our new facility here, we can add more cables for those pieces as well. And it looks like I may be just about to run out of cables, and that's kind of obnoxious, but we will deal with that as well. The one thing we are going to need to make, though, is another item exporter. We don't have enough of those yet. So let's go ahead and make that using our storage remote. So 1 item interface along with our output card. There we go. Item exporter. Perfect. So we put this on top of here. We clear this out again. And then we just have to do the same thing with our variable card again and tell it this time that the item is going to be steel. Whoops, that's not right. Just item. And then here we do steel on this side. I'm just getting way ahead of myself. Okay, there's steel, and we just save that to a variable card. Okay. And now we tell this to export only steel. And this should start getting steel in as soon as I say to input from the top. There we go. And now we want to export from the bottom. And in just a second, we will get a steel plate and we will put that into our system. Perfect. Steel plate there. Okay. And now we have all of this access to these items, again, through this one connector. So we're basically distributing our storage all over our base now. We have all of these individual controllers, the drawer controllers for our storage drawers, and we're just making these localized ingredients and then pulling them in wherever we need by this single item interface off of each of those drawer controllers. So we can keep repeating this pattern over and over again as much as we need. Now, we probably want to put a storage downgrade in here. Yeah, I already put a storage downgrade in here. Great. So that's only going to make 64 plates before it's going to stop. And then, of course, this will keep a backup up to 64 in here of additional ingredients. Now, one thing we could do here also, just to make this go a little smoother, is we could still upgrade this further. So let's make a bronze gear. And again, we don't use enough bronze gears that we really need to constantly be making them. I don't know if I'm going to add it to this factory at this point. But we can add hardened upgrades to all of our compactors. And then the other thing we're going to want to do to make our compactors go faster is use an auxiliary reception coil. So let's make 4 of those while we're at it. And those are relatively cheap themselves. 2, 3, 4. And then we'll make a stack of those. 2, 3, 4. Great. You know, we probably should automate Electrum separate from our fluxed Electrum at some point. That might be a good thing to do. But we'll come back to that. That's not a priority. All right. So that should increase the speed of these pretty high at this point. It looks like these are making these pretty darn quick now. About 3 times the speed we were doing, I think. And it looks like we're already full up on gears. So this is great. This is all ready to go. So to build up the rest of our researchers, we're going to need 2 more to finish out our blue research chain. And I still want to make a full 6 for our purple here. So we once again have to go back and make a bunch of our researchers. And for that, we're going to need a bunch of ingredients. The multi-block capsule base, of course, remains the most expensive item in that recipe for us, just because it needs a lot of modularium, which we don't really keep on hand. So 64, we need another 16 of these, I think. There we go, 16 machine casings, great. And now those in a circle will give us our multi-block capsule base. And actually 8 is enough, so we'll just drop those machine casings in there and we'll come back to it if we need it. So 8 of those as our base. And now we need steel sheet metal. Again, 8 times 6, which is 48, if I remember correctly. And for that, we need those steel plates that we were just making. So 48 pieces of steel sheet metal means 12, I think, steel plate. No, is that 48 steel plates? Let's just grab a stack of steel plates out of here. And look, this is going to go ahead and make more steel plates for us, so that's not a big deal. So 48 of these. Perfect. We'll drop the rest back here into our inventory. And then, what else are we missing? Just the steel fences, right? So let's make up a bunch of those. And it's how many? 2 times 8, so 16. So yeah, we're right on the money there. So now this should, in theory, make 8 of those all day. Wonderful. And now we can go ahead and put these down wherever we want, which in this case is going to be in our main research facility, of course. Okay, so now we need to put these down here. So let's put this one here. We want it like that, right? Same here. Like that. Okay, and these are actually scooted over 1 notch from where I wanted them. The other room, this is one further towards the middle. We'll fix that at a future date. We're not going to fix that today. But we are going to make sure that these new ones line up. And we want that way? Yeah, that way. Yeah, that's right. And then another one here. 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 And here. One more? Yeah, we've got one more. And here. Okay, there we go. Now we have a whole array of our researchers for the next ingredient. And we're just going to hook this up exactly the same way as before. And then we wire these up on top to make sure that they have power. Okay, there we go. Our researchers are now processing for our blue research. Now we need to do exactly the same thing for our purple research. So let's lay out our exports here. And we just need to paste these same conduit settings as we used on the other side. Just like so, and just give it a compacting storage drawer on the end there and make sure that those are being inserted there. Okay, so once this research actually starts, it will go into the right drawer. Now, I'm going to do this setup differently. I'm going to use a slightly more expensive setup, but I want to keep using integrated dynamics here. So first things first, we're going to need a bunch more logic cables, enough to run all the way the length of this row. So let's give myself 36. That should be plenty. Now we're also going to need a whole bunch of item interfaces. We're going to need 3 for every single one of these machines. So 6 machines times 3 interfaces is 18 item interfaces that we're going to need all said and done. And I think we have a few more pieces of crystallized mineral that we can use for that. 17, 21. Well, let's just do more than that. 25 is great. We'll have some extras left over. Okay, so where do we put our integrated dynamics? Yeah, so we need 18 item interfaces, and we need 18 output variable transformers, and that'll make 18 item exporters. Perfect. Now, the only thing I think that we are missing here... No, I don't think we're missing anything here. Oh, we're going to be missing cards. So let's go ahead and make another stack of variable cards while we're at it. Great. So now we just need to configure these things up and tell them what to do. So we're going to start by running our cables all the way down. There's our logic cables. And let's go ahead and put our omnidirectional connector on the end here. I didn't want that facing down. I kind of wanted that facing out. Let me just change that just just for my own aesthetics. Let's put it here. There, perfect. Okay, and now we need to get our various item exporters. Let's see here. Where did those go? Okay. And we're going to put them down on every single interface here. Okay, there we go. All said and done. Now, the last thing we need to do is add our item cards here, because again, the purple research is made with all 3 of our gear types. So we need to make 6 of each type of gear card. So let's see here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Now, first things first, let's make 6 of our Lumium gears. Wait, why did that work? That should have worked. Item. Lumium gear. And all 6 of these. Great. 6 Lumium. Whoop! It exploded on me. Okay, before we do the rest, we need to go around and insert these because apparently they don't stack even when they're the same item. So let's put one of these in each. Okay, so that's our Lumium gears in place. And now all we have to do is repeat the process with our other 2 gear types. So next up, go and add items again. We are going to do our Enderium gears. So we add that here. Let's put that into our second slot here, the one with the pillar. And export that item. And yeah, it's already just going to dump off a whole stack in there. And last, we're going to want to repeat that process one final time with our Signalum gears. So let's grab, not fluids, but items. There we go. And add our Signalum gear here and do the same thing once again. Okay, those all seem to be connected up. And now the only thing that's really missing here is to add power. So we're going to run our power, not there, come on now, you know better than that, off of our main line that we have up here, all the way over to this side. And now we'll just bring these across the top of this. Now this is a problem. This requires 500 energy per tick. That's more than what we're currently having available. So we might have to build a dedicated boiler system just for this single series of researchers, because these are going to need 500 each. So 3,000, is that right? Yeah, 5 times 6, 3,000. Okay, so we might go ahead and build ourselves another boiler, because I don't know that we can get that off of this. Although, now that I think about it, didn't we learn that a full-size boiler like this one can actually power 20 of these? 20 maxed out reinforced steam dynamos. So before I do that, let me go ahead and try and make 10 more steam dynamos and see if that doesn't resolve our problem. Okay, let's see if this works. So we're going to add another couple of rows of our high pressure pipes, and onto those we're going to put another row of our high pressure outputs, another 2 rows I should say, there we go. And then we've got 10 more steam dynamos. Oh, let's just hop up here like that. Okay, and we'll rotate all of these. Perfect. And now we need to upgrade them. And now we need to turn them into turbines. Good, and let's go ahead and upgrade them again with our auxiliary transmission coil. Okay, well that's a good sign. Great. Now all we need to do is drop our power cables onto this. And I think if I was reading y'all's comments properly, I can use these Ender IO cables, and as long as it doesn't exceed the max on a single input or output, I can put as much as I want into this network. So each of these cables can only input or output 5,000, but the whole network can hold way more than 5,000 in the cables themselves. So with all of this additional power, I should basically have doubled our output here. And how much are we getting off of each one? I can't even tell at this point how much it's putting off, but I think it's about 130 per. So that should be a ton of power. But it doesn't seem to be enough to keep up with our demand over here still. Okay, well, there's one other thing that we could do here. We could build a whole separate dedicated boiler just for this side. That might not be the worst idea in the world. How much did we say that purple research is? How much per tick does it need? 500? Oh, it needs 500 per tick. Okay, so yeah, I think this is now going to be Operation Build a Second Boiler. I figured since I was already going through the trouble of setting up one additional boiler, I may as well take the trouble of setting up 3 additional boilers. So we won't have to worry about power, hopefully, for a little while. Now, I did not record setting all of this up because you all have already seen me set up a boiler before in the previous episodes, and it took me about 2 hours to do all of this, to make all of the items and set it all up. I will say that it is very, very rewarding feeling when you're putting up huge rows of machine blocks. That just feels really fun, especially when you're inserting all of the augments into these steam boilers and whatnot. But it took forever, so that's not here. If you want to know how to build a steam boiler, go back about 3 or 4 episodes and I build them there, so it's not a big deal. And I got a really great tip from McGarvey in the comments that said I can just put an aqueous accumulator on the other side of a high pressure pump, and this will basically be unlimited water. So this is actually faster doing it this way because it's an infinite water source in this way, rather than putting the aqueous accumulator directly attached to my valve, because the high pressure pump is going to give us infinite throughput. And that means at the bottom here, we no longer are running out of water. It's just always full of water. So that isn't even dropping down. So that is a massive improvement here. Now, all of these are connected up to energy batteries, and those energy batteries that go to a logistics network I put below. See, our item allocators no longer have anything connected. Now, I'm using the engineer's doors, and down below here, below my trapdoor, I have my network for integrated dynamics, kind of hidden away a little bit, still on our group 0 channel, and so our energy is connecting through the bottom here. And our coal is being exported from the bottom as well using those item exporters. So all 4 of these are connected down here through this little network system I put below, sort of our plumbing area. I should probably close in our walls here, but we have not been very diligent about closing our walls in. So that is all of our power connected. So with this now feeding into our integrated dynamics network, that should radically improve the throughput that we're seeing at our main research facility, but we haven't hooked those up yet. So let's go do that right now. So back at our research facility, we are going to improve our situation by getting rid of these power pipes altogether. They were great. They did us good using the Ender IO ones while it lasted, but we have outgrown them. And as with all relationships you've outgrown, it's time to move on and accept that there's going to be better things for us. So we're going to do that real quick by removing all of those. And you know what? We can move the ones from the top here as well. Let's go ahead and whack those down. And there. Okay. And now we're going to use the more grown-up option here of our integrated dynamics pipes. So we need to grab our energy exporters here. And I hope I brought enough cards. And we're going to put these down on top of each of these individual machines, like so. And you know what we're also going to do is we're going to upgrade these from tiny to small, because it's going to store more energy and take more energy in at a time, so that's good for us. And then we're just going to run our logic cables along here, just like so. connecting all of these up all the way down the row. And it looks like I did bring enough cables for once. That's good. And then we don't want to run a whole nother separate connector here because these are relatively expensive to build. So instead, we're going to run this off of the top and down, just like so. Well, not like that. And then these will just connect up right here. So that should be connected to my network now. The only thing we are missing is to put variable cards in each of these just to tell it that it can export. And for right now, these are using only 500 per tick, so I'm not going to tell it that it can do 1,000 in here. That's the, or 5,000 I should say, which is the maximum on these that you can export. I'm just going to let them do the 1,000 that's the default. And you can see that right here if I click on this. Channel is 0, but energy transfer rate is 1,000. So we're just going to leave it at that cap. We're going to use, looks like almost all of our variable cards doing this. Down to 1. Perfect. Okay, and as you can see, these are getting a lot of power in now. So in theory, this should all be doing its job. Yep, and there is our research. Let's just double check that all of these are doing our research. Yep, okay, so these are all researching. It's very slow, but we are getting purple research. And we had gotten a little while it was connected, while I was building all that out. We got 52. So let's go ahead and grab that purple research. And there you go. Quest completed. Utility research. Excellent. So that is right here. And with that, we unlock a whole new world. It looks like next up is going to be advanced ore drilling and automation, and a lot of oil refining, some higher power transfer cables for us, and of course over here we're going to get ore duplication again, or processing tier 4. So I think that's going to then again double, maybe quadruple our output. But that's a lot to do, and that's going to have to wait. So we'll dive into the purple research in our next episode. But for now, we're going to call it the end of this episode. So thanks again for watching Enterprise Architecture, and we'll see you back here next time. Bye, friends.